Hi everyone, it's Marci, Speedy Vinyl, Marci and Baby Bump. Austin's not here today. Well, he's not here right now. He'll be here later. So if customers walk in, I'm going to have to hop off and then I'll come back on. But I wanted to do a video with you guys about Etsy. A lot of people ask us about Etsy or other selling platforms, and so I thought we could take some time this morning to answer questions. So if you have any questions about Etsy, go ahead and type them in the comments and I'll get to them. And some people have already asked questions on the thread that I posted, so I'm going to start with some of those. Etsy is a really great platform to sell on because it's huge and the market is literally millions. That's advertising that you don't have to figure out. I have an Etsy shop. It's called Posh Princess Supply. So you may or may not know, if you're local, you know that prior to the summer here at the shop, actually right over here, where all the rolls are, used to be my beads. So I have sold beads now for 5 years, and let me grab some actually. So when I say beads, I mean beads like this. So Austin and I started our first online business when our daughter Emily was born. She's 5 now, so I did make this, but I don't generally make necklaces. I sell the supply itself, just like we do vinyl. So these are just chunky beads, and we've been selling on Etsy for 5 years, but I've put more focus on it in the last 3 years. It's been a little over 5 years, and in that time frame, I have made over 48,000 sales. We're getting close to, maybe it's more than that, we're getting close to 50,000 sales on Etsy, which is huge. At least it's huge for me. I'm really excited about it. So this is what my shop looks like, if you want to take a look. It's my Pretty Posh Princess, or Posh Princess Supply, and you can see there all of my sales, and this is my shop. Lots of items and feedback. And I want to go over some of the key factors with you guys when it comes to Etsy. And if you missed the very beginning, I said Austin's not in right now, so if a customer comes in because the shop is open, I'll have to stop the video and then I'll come back on. So don't run off. I'll come right back. So are there any questions? He's at the DMV and he's gonna bug us with his questions. So the first few key things is you need to create a brand for yourself. It's really important on Etsy that you have a brand and you have a logo that you use consistently. You can create a logo for free using PicMonkey. Go to picmonkey.com. They do have a paid service and they have a free service. So create a logo. It can be something simple. I actually think simple is better. Whether it's your name on a transparent background, something you can watermark your photos with, something that makes your shop your shop. So first of all, have your brand and make sure that you use it on everything in your shop, because that way when people are scrolling through the billions of listings on Etsy, when they see your logo, they're going to know that it's you. So that's the first thing that I suggest. I have like all these things written down I want to go over and some questions that you guys have asked me. So there's quite a few things that are important when you're making listings on Etsy. The number one thing that's important are your tags. So Etsy allows you 13 tags that you can classify your products as. And when you're doing that, when you're going through, let me see if I can find it. Let me pull it up on here. On Etsy, I'm going to pull up one of my listings for a cream bead. So here's a cream bead, and you're gonna, when you're going down, so here's my description, and we'll talk about that, but here's my tags, and I actually have 4 to go, so I'm already breaking the rule where you're supposed to use all 13. So my tags, I make sure that in every single one of my listings, I have chunky beads, and I have bubblegum or bubblegum beads. I always have 20 millimeter if it's 20 millimeter, because I know that those are my keywords. Thank you, everybody. But my belly is it feels really big. So I appreciate it, Tiffany. But your tags are super important. Now, one thing that you need to remember when you're working on tags is if you cannot imagine typing that tag into Google, don't use it. So for instance, I wouldn't want to put like acrylic resin bead because I would never type that in, because a lot of people don't even know that that's what some of these are made out of. They just know them as chunky beads. So when you go to Google to look for something, say you're selling a mug, you're going to decal a mug, and you want to, if you are the purchaser, you're the consumer, you're not going to type in custom football mug using Oracal 651 vinyl, because you don't know that's what it is. So your tag should be mug, custom mug, personalized, pink, or love, or just things that you could actually imagine typing into Google. Those are the type of things that you want to use as your tags. The next thing for Etsy are your categories, and that is, let me find that on here. They have a ton of categories, and you want to be specific. So for mine, it can be a little tricky because beads, they actually have gotten better. Now you can choose round, square, all different kinds of beads. But for mugs, make sure that you're putting in not just cookware, because you're not really selling cookware. You want to try to dig it down as deep as you can. Get it as specific as possible, even if that means going back and forth and clicking on a lot of different things until you find the most specific and the most appropriate category. That's going to help your customers find your product and find what they're actually looking for. Let me see if there's any more questions. None yet. Okay. So shipping is another thing, and you're going to be setting all of these up on your listings. When you're creating your listings, you're setting them all up. You need to have shipping profiles, and Etsy will help. It won't help you, but they will show you where to create. I keep hearing car doors. I want to make sure that people aren't coming in. Etsy will show you where to create shipping profiles, and shipping is extremely important. I hate to say it, but think about going to Amazon. When you're looking on Amazon, you're more likely to purchase something that has free shipping or very low shipping opposed to something that doesn't. And you need to keep that in mind when you're listing your items as well. So you can have different categories. For mine, because I have beads, I have one shipping rate, a flat shipping rate for small beads, which is like $4.30. And then I have a bulk option, which I attach to all of my bigger bags of beads because I know they're going to have to ship priority. But I also offer free shipping, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. I just want to get through these first main points, because these are things you're going to see when you're setting up your listing: our tags, categories, your shipping categories, your title, your photos, and then you need to make sure for a couple of other things. So for the title of your products, they need to be really clear, and don't overdo it. Your most important keywords should be in your title. So for instance, mine are chunky beads, so almost every single one of my listings says chunky beads somewhere, because I want to make sure when people are typing it in on Etsy that they're going to be finding these. They're going to be finding mine. Make sure it's easy to read, not too complicated, but use your best tags or your best keywords. Photos. The photos are probably the number one most important thing after tags for your Etsy shop. Your photos need to be good. They actually did a study. Etsy, I don't know if it was Etsy, somebody did some sort of a poll. 90% of shoppers, and it's not just Etsy, but just broad spectrum, say that if the quality of the photo is good, they're more likely to purchase that item over another item. Even if the price on a competitor's item is lower, they're more likely to purchase your item if your photo's better. And that is the plain truth. I am the same way. I think that the photo should accurately depict the product. Now, I have what I use, so you can do a lot of different things. Natural light is the number one thing. Don't take photos in your office at 11 o'clock at night using yellow light. They're just not going to look good. Even if you try to manipulate the photos, They're just not going to look that good. Try to use natural light. Get a light box. They're pretty cheap. You can get a light box off of Amazon or eBay for less than $30. Use that if you primarily are working at night when your children are sleeping. I totally get that. The first 3 years of my online bead business, I worked primarily from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the morning. So I get that. It's not always as simple using natural light. But there are tricks. And keep it, like I said, with your brand, keep it across the board. Keep it similar. So what I have done, I made this in 2013. So this is just a post office box that I cut apart. And I have glued in here, you can see how loved it is, how used it is. I have glued in here wallpaper. So this is just wallpaper. And this is the background for nearly every single picture in my bead shop. And that keeps my bead shop looking really clean. Let me show you. I also have a bowl. There's one specific bowl that I use for my beads. Beads I know are different than some of these vinyl products. But I have a bowl, and I didn't bring it because it's at home and it's rainy and my balance isn't so good. And if I dropped and broke that bead or that bowl, I would probably cry for the rest of the day because I don't remember where I got it. But if you look in the background of all of my pictures, there's my bowl, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's my, go back, it's hard to do this upside down. There's my background. Let me go to pendants. All of my pendants, oh here, this is a perfect example. So I have these little flower acrylic pendants that I sell on Etsy. And do you see that background? So whenever people are looking or shopping for beads on Etsy, if they see this background, they're gonna associate it with me and they're gonna associate it with my brand. I think we have some customers coming in, so I'm gonna hop off really quick, but don't go away, I will be right back because we're gonna talk about the fees, the best way to ship, how to get your stuff viewed more often, bump it up, and how to pick your prices, as well as taxes. So I will be back. We have some customers coming in. I'll be back and we'll talk about shipping fees, getting noticed, and taxes, and any other questions. So think of some more questions you have for me, and I'll be back. Hey everyone, I'm back. So part 2 of our Etsy Q&A. We'll see how many parts it ends up being. So as customers come in, I'm going to stop the video and then I'll come back. So I'll wait just a couple seconds and let some of you guys get back on. So then we'll go over, I'll just touch base quickly on what we talked about. In part 1, we talked about tags, categories, shipping categories, attributes, title, and photos. So those were a couple of things. And for more specific questions on how to actually set up a listing, if that's something that you guys would be interested in, I could do a video about that as well. I'm not going to today because it could get really lengthy. So I'm not going to show like step by step how to set up a listing. But if that's something that you would want, let me know. So we kind of left off at photos and how extremely important photos were. I'm going to pick back up with the about section. So when you're setting your shop up, make sure that you do fill out your about section. A lot of customers that have been surveyed from Etsy say that they feel more comfortable purchasing from shops that have that filled out. It's my big old bump. It gives them a more of a feel for your customer service, who you are, what your shop is about, and what you offer. So make sure that you do fill out that customer service or the about me section for your shop. Also, having clear policies is very important to customers when they were surveyed on Etsy. So make sure that if you have a no return policy, that it's very clear. Make sure that if you want your customers to contact you within X amount of days from receiving their order to make a complaint or ask a question or possibly do a return, that you're extremely clear. Make sure your return policy is also extremely clear. For instance, for clothing, custom clothing, personally, I would not allow any returns or exchanges. Make sure it's really, really clear, because once you put your HTV on your shirt and you make it custom for someone, you're just not going to get that money back. So make sure your policies are extremely clear across the board, so that if a customer comes back, you can refer them to that. The next thing that I want to talk about is fees. So a lot of people are very wary, or maybe choose not to go with some of these platforms like Etsy because you don't understand the fees. When it comes to any place that you sell something, you're always going to have fees. And if you do understand them and you can keep that in mind when you're making your prices, it's going to make it easier for you to set your prices. So there are 3 basic fees that Etsy charges. There's a listing fee, which is 20 cents per item, 20 cents per listing. That you are charged as soon as you create that product. Then Etsy also has item sales fees. It used to be 3.5%. It's now 5%. So they've upped it 1.5%. And that is 5% of the sale price. And now that also includes 5% of your shipping cost. So Etsy used to not charge on shipping. So for instance, if you charge somebody $2.99 in shipping, you would get that full $2.99, and Etsy would not take a cut of that. They no longer do that. They upped those fees this last summer. They now take 5% of that $2.99. So keep that in mind when you're setting your shipping prices, so that if you know for sure you cannot afford to lose money on shipping, add 5% to your cost, because Etsy's going to take that out. The third fee that Etsy charges are the direct checkout fees, which is for processing your payments. So your customers can use a credit card, a debit card, or a PayPal account, and it's all streamlined into what Etsy calls a payment account. So all of your payments go to one place, and you can get them either weekly, you can opt to get them sooner, however works for you. But Etsy's going to charge a fee on that. And when it comes to taxes, you need to make sure you know where to find those fees, because in your dashboard, you can find some of them. But to get the real nitty-gritty numbers of your processing and payment fees, you need to know how to download your orders and into, I think it's a CSV or a CVS file, I can't remember off the top of my head, into it like an Excel program to do that, or take advantage of QuickBooks that Etsy also has. Etsy has an option to incorporate QuickBooks into your shop, and it'll help you with some of that. So don't worry too much, but just keep in mind when you're doing your pricing that it's 20 cents to list an item, 5% of the final sale price, 5% of your shipping cost, and there are going to be processing and payment fees. So that's kind of how their fee schedule works. It's very similar to anything like eBay or Amazon or anywhere you're going to sell. And those fees help cover, first of all, the marketing, because Etsy is a gigantic, huge market. Millions, billions of people shop on Etsy all the time. It's become extremely mainstream. People feel comfortable buying on Etsy. So you already have that advantage when you start selling on Etsy, because you're reaching a really large market, and Etsy's helping you do that. So that's where some of those fees come from. For shipping, some people have asked, let me find the iPad. I need to find the question. Find a specific question. Selena, she asked, how do you determine shipping prices, and does the post office offer discounts to small businesses? The post office itself, if you go into your local post office, is not going to give you a discount. But Etsy will, and Stamps.com will. So if you don't want to pay Stamps.com, because it's $15.99 a month for one of their, I think the basic plan is $15.99, I would suggest taking advantage of the shipping feature that's built into Etsy. I don't use it personally because I ship a lot of packages on Etsy, and then obviously we ship a lot of packages here at the vinyl shop, and so we have multiple categories on our Stamps.com, and we batch in our orders, and it sends everything back, and that works really well for us. But for a new shop just getting established, take advantage of Etsy shipping. You save about 30% when you ship through them, and it's fairly easy as well. Once you have a sale, from your dashboard, there's going to be a button that allows you to click it to find shipping rates and to print labels. So you take advantage of that, because across the board you are going to save about 30%. Try to avoid at all costs taking your packages to the post office and shipping there, because you're going to pay the retail rate, which is much higher. So with that being said, invest in a scale. You can get a scale on Amazon, you can get a scale from Walmart, any type of mail or postage scale, and you can get them for less than $20, so that you can calculate, once your package is ready to go, the actual weight of your package. You can print your labels straight from home. You don't have to have a fancy label printer. You can print them from your printer right at home. You can actually even buy labels that you feed into your printer, 4x6 labels that feed into your printer that are sticky if you do a lot of volume or if you want to go that route. But definitely, if you can avoid taking your packages to the post office and paying that retail price, do it, because it's significantly higher. So you're going to save yourself some money printing labels directly off of Etsy or using a service like stamps.com. Another question was about first page views, and let me find that so I can read it. So Jennifer asked, I have a small shop and I have a hard time being in the first few pages for customers to see me. No one really ever looks past the first 5 or pages when there's maybe 250 pages. And that she's read about algorithms and changed the words and content, and it doesn't seem to be helping. And that it seems like Etsy caters to bigger shoppers that leave small shops in the dust, charging too much money. I feel your frustration with that, because my bead shop I have had for over 5 years, and so it is a big shop. And just because of that, I do get a lot of views. But I also had, long before we started Speedy Vinyl, we started out making custom crafts, making mugs and t-shirts, and I had an Etsy for that. Just like what I'm talking to you about today is making an Etsy for your custom crafts. And it is hard. It's hard to get up in the relevance to make your shop more relevant. But I do have a couple of tips. The first thing, obviously, is more sales, and that's easier said than done. But the more sales that you have, the more relevant your shop becomes. So, for instance, maybe you really don't like making decals and you prefer to only do t-shirts. Well, t-shirts are more expensive to sell than decals. So maybe consider selling decals as well. And maybe consider selling something fairly inexpensive, because that's going to rack up your sales. So maybe come up with a, off the top of my head, seasonal or sports. Sports is a good one. So football mom. Create some fun football mom design. Sell it in a 3x3 size decal. Offer it in whatever colors of Oracal 651 that you want. And sell it for something like $2.99 in your shop with free shipping, because you can send it in an envelope for the cost of one stamp. Have a couple of those options available. Now people might be looking, they're going to start buying those decals. And even though you're not making as much money off of a $2.99 decal as you may be off of a custom t-shirt, that's one sale for your shop. And every additional sale that you have, it bumps you up in Etsy's overall algorithms of which shops are the most relevant. So it's kind of a tactic that you can use, offering lower priced items to increase your sales, to increase your relevance. That's my first tip. The second thing is know your competitors. So if you're selling a football mom shirt, go to Etsy and look those same things up. Type in there football mom or football custom shirts, sports shirts, things like that. And go through that first page, those first listings of your competitors. Look at their pictures, look at their prices, look at their tags and their keywords. Because if you remember from the first video, those 13 tags that you're allowed to attach to your listings are extremely important. And you can look and see what other people are doing. By no means don't copy, like word for word, somebody's description. Definitely don't take their pictures, don't do anything like that. But know your competitors, know their prices, know their tags and their keywords. Because if they're on that first page, they're doing something right. And work smarter, not harder. Just figure out what they're doing, and don't copy it directly, obviously. But if there's a keyword that maybe you forgot, put it on your listing. That's going to help you bump up. Another thing, like I said, I've said it so many times, are your photos. Photos are more important than your price in some cases. Make sure your photos are good. Use the natural light. Edit them. Adjust the brightness or the highlight or the contrast. Make sure that your photos are just so appealing, because it is literally like in the first video, if you missed it, shoppers say that 90% of the time they will buy a product based off of the quality of the picture opposed to the price. So if you have a cruddy picture, they're going to skip you over and they're going to go to the next person who might be $5 more expensive than you, but their picture's better. So really work on your pictures and your brand. Keep your pictures kind of the same if you can, because that's all a part of your overall brand. It's very important, your photos. More about your first page views, which is important, are your descriptions, because things like Google AdWords, they're pulling tags right out of your description and you don't even know it. So if you have in your description a whole bunch of jumble that has nothing to do with anything, then those jumble words are what people are pulling from Google. Use strong keywords in your descriptions too. Make sure that you're really clear about what your item is. The brand, if you use a certain t-shirt, if the t-shirt is pre-shrunk or not, how you should wash it, how you should take care of it, things like that are really important. Another thing that people look at when deciding who to purchase from on Etsy is the shipping cost and the turnaround time. I know for beads it's a lot simpler than it is for making a custom t-shirt, because I already have the beads ready to go. So somebody could place an order right now and I can go to my bead room, which is out of control, you guys should see that, and I could pack it right now and I could ship it today. When you have a custom shirt, there's going to be back and forth of deciding the font, the layout, the placement, the color, the material. You might not have the vinyl you need. You might need to order it from Speedy Vinyl. And we're going to ship it quick, so it's not going to take quite as long. But their turnaround time is going to be different. So keep that in mind and make sure you're realistic with it. If you say you can ship something in 2 days, make sure you can ship it in 2 days. Make sure you have that vinyl on hand so that you can get it done. And then the shipping cost itself. You don't want to lose money on shipping by any means, and you don't want to make money on shipping, but you need to be realistic. If there's an opportunity to build shipping costs into an item so that you can offer free shipping, then your customers are going to want that. They're going to go for that first and foremost too. And we might have another customer stepping in. So we went over fees, shipping, and first page views. We're going to go over a little more over first page views. But I think we'll have to do part 3 of Etsy Q&A. There's another question. Brittany, I will answer your question when I come back. We have some customers coming into the shop. Austin's at the DMV today, so it's just me down here. So once I'm done with that, I will be back for part 3. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Think of some more questions, because I have some more really good information to tell you. And we're going to do part 3. Hopefully there's not a whole bunch more parts. We've been really busy at the vinyl shop today. Lots of customers coming in and out. So I'll recap what we went over in parts 1 and 2. We went over tags, categories, shipping, attributes, photos, the about section, policies, branding, fees, and shipping. So we went over all of that. I'm going to try, I keep looking out the window, so when you see me doing this, I'm looking out the shop window. I'm at the vinyl shop, and Austin is actually at the DMV today, so it's just me and Baby Bump down here. And so when customers come in, I'll hop off and I'll hop back on. So we left off with the first page views and how you can get more views on Etsy so that your shop becomes more relevant. Definitely go back and watch part 2, because I think there's some really useful information there about how to do that, which included having lower priced items so that you can sell them more frequently to increase your relevance. Look at your competition, study your competition, know what they're doing, what their tags are, what their prices are. Your keywords and your tags, extremely important. Your photos and your descriptions are extremely important. And then your shipping and your turnaround time. So, another question that we had, I'm going to pull it up. Need to find it. It's about determining your selling price and how to do that on Etsy to make yourself competitive. And it's from Barbara. And she said, oh no, Barbara's was about taxes. And we'll talk about that too. From Janice, how do you determine your selling prices for your items? I never know what I should be charging. This is another huge question that we get asked a lot. Head to our website, speedyvinylshop.com, go to our tutorials. I printed this off. This exact thing is on our website. It's a pricing formula. Essentially, a good way to determine your selling price for an item is the time plus materials equals your cost. Cost times 2 is your wholesale price, so if somebody's buying a lot, and wholesale times 2 is your retail price. And I break that all down. I know that sounds like a lot, and I don't want to go into this extensively because we want to talk more about Etsy than about pricing. But if you want some good tips on how to price, I have literally broke it down. If you, for instance, saying that your time is worth $15 an hour, because it is. Say that's what you want to set your labor rate as, or $5 an hour, $10 an hour, whatever you want to do. This breaks it down. Exactly how much you should charge for a 6x6 decal, selling it based off of the time that it takes you to do it, the cost of your material, which is really low because you're buying it from speedyvinylshop.com, and what you're making. So head over after this video on our website, on our app, go down to, it's under tutorials, find the pricing formula, and you can print this page out yourself as well. And this is going to kind of give you a really good example as to how you should be calculating for one item, for multiple items, if you want to offer wholesale and things like that. I think taxes was the next question. Yeah, Barbara had asked that, she said she's worried about doing taxes at the end of the year because she's horrible at keeping track of her purchases and things. So what are tips for that? When it comes to Etsy, if you missed earlier, Etsy offers an integration with QuickBooks, which is awesome. I believe there might be a fee. I don't use it just because we have Speedy Vinyl as well, and for that we have an accountant. So I still do a lot of bookkeeping on the back end that I prepare and give to the accountant. But QuickBooks is an awesome resource if you're only selling on Etsy, because it's going to keep track of everything for you. But the number one thing is just keep all your receipts. Make sure that you print them, put them in a folder. It doesn't have to be fancy. Have them sitting on your desk. If you're purchasing everything from Speedy Vinyl, which we hope you are, you can also make sure you create an account with us, because that's going to keep a detailed list of all of your purchases. So if you print it and you lose it, or if you just don't have the paper to print it right, that when you make a purchase, you can always go back at the end of the year and find all of your purchases from us, so at least you'll know what your cost was for that. So when it comes to taxes, just be diligent at the beginning of the year, create a folder, have it sitting on your desk. If you work easier with hard copies, make sure you have them, and just keep everything together. And definitely take advantage of the QuickBooks integration that Etsy offers to your shop. That's going to help you with that. Let me find another question. I don't want to give too much tax advice so that you're not mad at me. Austin knows a lot about taxes. He does a lot about taxes. I do, another thing that I do is I make our own Excel spreadsheets, and that's something that you could do as well. Because keep in mind that if you are working from home, that you can write off a percentage of your home, your craft room, any place that you are using that is dedicated to your crafting. You can write off a percentage of that, as well as your internet, some of your phone bill if you work off of your phone like everybody does anymore. So make sure that if you have an accountant, talk to your accountant, or look up for your specific state the rules about that. want to do... So Angela asked about wanting to do digital download designs as well as products. That I have also done, so I can also help with that. So if you make files, Etsy actually makes it extremely easy to sell digital downloads. You have to mark it as a digital download and you upload the file, so once a customer purchases the file, under their purchases, there's going to be a place to download. And that you just have to play around with your listings. When you're making your listings, select it as a digital download as opposed to a physical product. And you can do both. So you can offer digital downloads as well as physical products that you're actually going to be shipping in your store. It's all just a part of how you set up your listing. So you can do that. Let's see here. So Kathy Meadows said, I've seen several people in the last month close their Etsy shops due to new rules. That's at least what they are saying. What new rules would cause this? So the new rules, the first thing was Etsy increased their fees. So they went from 3.5% to 5%, which made a lot of people unhappy. I wasn't happy about it. You guys don't even want to know how much my bead shop pays every year in fees. It's ridiculous. So that was the first thing. The second thing was they started charging that 5% fee on the shipping rate, which they never used to do. That's in part 1 of the video. If you haven't watched the very first video, live video, I talked about that. So the fees is the number one thing why people have been closing their shop, is because Etsy did increase those. I don't know what other new rules that they have really done. Etsy is really specific about trademarks and copyrights. And that's not really a new thing. It makes some people upset that they can't sell trademarked and copyrighted items, but it really shouldn't. Just keep in mind that if you spent a lot of time creating something and creating a brand, that you too would not want other people to be selling it and making money off of it. So Etsy does crack down on that, especially for certain things, like when it comes to Disney or the NFL, those two specifically, and there's literally thousands of others. If you're trying to sell something that you don't own the rights to, they will shut your listing down, and if you continue to try, I mean, you could get into trouble for it, and some people don't like that. But just remember that somebody worked really hard to establish that brand, and it's theirs. And so having the respect for that, that's why at our shop, a lot of people want us to and ask us to print things that are licensed and trademarked, and it's just, there's no maybe or shady area. Austin just doesn't do it. So we just don't do anything that's licensed or trademarked. It's a rule of thumb that we follow, and so consider that when you're making listings. You might not want to try to sell a Dallas Cowboys mug, because trust me, they're going to see it. Even if that's the only one who sees it, the NFL will see it. They will contact you. They'll reach out to you. So don't do copyrights and trademarks. That's something that, for the new rules, that it's not really new. Etsy's always done it, but I think as Etsy has become bigger and more people use it, they've really cracked down on that. Somebody else asked, actually, I think we have another customer here. So I am going to have to jump off again. I know this one's super short. I will just wait to come back. We'll do part 4 at lunch, because we close in a half an hour, and then I won't be interrupted. So come back at noon MST Mountain Standard Time, and we'll wrap up with all the questions, and there won't be any more interruptions. So I will be back in 30 minutes. Hi everyone, I'm back. This is the final one, I promise. The store has been really busy today. There's been a lot of people in and out, so I decided just to wait until lunch so that we can lock the door and we can wrap up this Etsy video. And Austin's back now, so he was playing hooky from work, so Austin's back now. So we have, so there should be no interruptions. So I should be able to get through the final questions for the Etsy question and answer now, and then I'll have Austin kind of compile all the videos together and move it over to YouTube sometime soon, so it'll be easier to go over that. So I'm not going to do too much of a recap because I'll have them put them all together so you can see them all. But there were just a couple more questions that people had that I wanted to address. Let me pull it back up here. Alicia had asked concerning Etsy. She said, I have a shop set up, but I'm trying to find ways to get more visits and more sales. So we did talk about that in part 2 and a little bit in part 3 for that. And I also want to know how to change shipping if someone is local and wants to pick an item up. I don't want to charge a shipping cost to them. So what I can say about, at least for the local, is when you go to your dashboard, you can create a code, a discount code. And let me pull that up and I can show you on the iPad. So create a discount code is the same concept that we use here at the vinyl shop. Our local discount code is local pickup. We specifically do that because if it eliminates the shipping for the purpose of picking up locally, so that way people can't say, I thought it was free shipping. Well, it's local pickup. So do that. But if you create a local pickup discount code that offers free shipping for your local customers, that way when they go to checkout, it's not going to charge them a shipping cost. And where is that at? I'm looking. Okay, so when you go to your dashboard, right here, and I'm looking at it. I probably look really silly. Let me click on it quick. Settings. Click on settings. And then shipping. Not shipping, actually. That's not right. Don't do that. Don't do any of what I just said. You need to go to discount codes. It's different on the iPad than it is for on the desktop computer. But you find where you have your discount codes, and for some reason I'm not seeing it on here. Let me go back to my dashboard. Create a discount code. You can decide what it is. It can be local pickup. It can be, I would stick with local pickup, to be honest. I wouldn't put free shipping because if somebody else passes it on, then you might end up in a sticky situation. But create a local discount code, a local pickup. Give that to your local customers. That way when you see it, you're going to know that it's to pick up locally, and then just send them a message when it's available, when it's ready for pickup. So that's, Alicia, that's what I do for my local customers. And I do have some local bead customers as well. Let me find some more questions. We did briefly talk about, someone had asked about taxes. Another thing to remember too is that if you click on your finances tab, there's a finances tab here on Etsy. And I talked about that QuickBooks integration that Etsy has. Take advantage of that. You'll see it right here under your finances tab. So earlier when we were talking about that, that's where you can find it. If you click on that, it'll integrate into your shop for you, and it's going to keep track of your sales and things like that. Another question, this just came to me. New rules that somebody had asked. They had seen people closing their shop because of new rules and what could cause that. This is not a rule specifically from Etsy. It's a rule, just something that's happening, is how taxes are charged. And so now a lot of states are collecting sales tax, not just in your own state. So we're in Colorado, and state sales that I make in the state of Colorado were always charged a Colorado state tax. There are several states now that you have to pay, it's the sales tax, right? The state sales tax? That's what it is?
It's going to be...
It's going to be across the board, every state.
Within the next, if not year or 2 years, it's going to be every state. You're going to have to pay sales tax online every.
I don't know if you can hear Austin. We're eating lunch. That's why I was late. I'm sorry we were late. I made Austin go take me and get something to eat because you know maybe you're hungry. But one really, really, really awesome thing about Etsy is that they do that for you. So, for instance, I think Pennsylvania might be one of them. Let's just throw that out there. Say Pennsylvania is one of them. I don't live in Pennsylvania. I live in Colorado. But if I have a customer make a purchase on Etsy that lives in Pennsylvania, Etsy is going to automatically charge them on their order from me that Pennsylvania state sales tax rate. They're going to pay that. Etsy's going to keep it, and they're going to remit it to the state of Pennsylvania for me, which is huge. You guys don't even know how huge that is unless you've remitted state sales taxes. We do a lot of that here, and there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of things involved. Austin's always dealing with that. So it's a really big deal.
Something about that, I think it's going to actually work a little different than that. It used to be Pennsylvania tax, but I got a letter from the state of Colorado yesterday, and I don't know how this is all going to unfold yet. I'm still figuring it out. But I think what's going to happen is every transaction, now if you're tax savvy, you'll get this. If not, maybe you won't. But every transaction, you'll pay state tax for the state of the seller. So if you're in Pennsylvania and you buy something from us here in Colorado, you'll pay Colorado state tax. You won't have to pay county or city because you're outside of that jurisdiction, but the state will still apply. Because they're trying, I don't know if anybody follows it, but the Supreme Court, they passed a bill, and I believe it started with South Dakota and a handful of other states, and they've been trying to do this forever, but where states can now collect sales tax on everything that's purchased online, and that's why I say I think within the next year or 2 years, it's going to be across the board. But Etsy, that's the cool thing about Etsy, is Etsy does all that for you, and let me tell you, it is a freaking nightmare to deal with.
So that's huge about Etsy.
That's an A+ for Etsy.
They're going to do it for you. I don't have to do it, and you don't have to do it when you're selling on Etsy. Etsy's going to go ahead and send those payments out for you, because the last thing that you need to worry about is the IRS. You need to worry about building your brand and making your sales. So I think that was the majority of the questions. The main questions everybody really has is, how do I drive traffic to my page? How do I get the sales? Part 2, we talked about it. I have a couple more suggestions and a couple more things that I want to pass along before we end this 4-part turned into a big thing, which I apologize. Our store was really busy today. But a couple things to remember, like we talked about, your brand and your photos are extremely important. Make sure that you do start a Facebook page, a business page. Post to it as frequently as possible. Every new thing that you do, post to it. If you make a mug, say you made a soccer mom mug in green yesterday, and next week you make one in purple. Even if it's the same decal, but it's a different color, take a great picture, put it on your Facebook page. Create an Instagram. Use those hashtags and those tags. The more social networks that you can get to, the better.
We should do a video on hashtags.
I know from personal experience that Facebook has drastically changed over the last 5 years. When I first started selling beads, it was close to 5.5, 6 years ago, I did everything 100% on Facebook. I paid nothing in advertising costs. I did not use Etsy. I had my own domain, myprettyposhprincess.com. I still own that. I still use it for beads. And Facebook was just killing it, popping off, and I could reach all my customers, and it was awesome. Recently, because of money, Facebook wants you to pay for that now. And so they throttle you down. And if you're not paying for those paid ads, and you're just not going to reach the customers. So you have to make sure that you're hitting it from all aspects. You can definitely do the paid ads, but you need to hit more things than just the paid ads, which is where Etsy comes in really handy. Because like I've said from the very beginning of the very first video, you're reaching billions of people. From the second that you upload your first product to Etsy, you have at your disposal their name, their brand, their marketing. Some people think their fees are high. They are high. But you have to remember, too, that they have built themselves up to be a globally, this huge worldwide company that we all know and trust. And that's why selling on Etsy is going to be good for you. Just make sure that you're going back and you're utilizing all of the platforms. Post your photos. You can share directly to your Facebook. Let me show you that. That's something that I do frequently. That's a huge help too, is when you post something or when you list a new product on Etsy, you should share that product to your Facebook or to your Instagram. And I'll show you how to do that.
Oh, cool.
So here again is my shop. And let's say, let me show you here. Let me go back to all. So I have a holiday section. And let's say this cute turkey pendant is new, which it's kind of new. And I want all my followers on Facebook to see it and to know, because maybe they haven't been on Etsy recently to see that I uploaded it. So there's my product. And right here, click Facebook, click Pinterest, click Twitter, and share it straight over, because when you share it straight over from it, there's a direct link. So now on your Facebook, when you share it over to your page, there's a direct link that includes a picture of the cute turkey or the mug or the decal or the shirt, and it takes them directly to your Etsy shop. They don't have to go and search, because maybe it's just a picture. So then they go to Etsy and they search turkey pendant, and there might be 50 other shops selling turkey pendants. I want them to buy mine, so I'm going to direct it to my shop. So take advantage of all of the aspects to link your social media accounts together. Feedback is another really big thing you need to think about with Etsy. I have currently 7,771 feedback left, so my shop has a 5-star rating. Make sure you're taking care of your customers. Encourage them to leave you feedback, because it is important to building your name and building your brand. The better feedback that you have, the more people are going to feel comfortable purchasing from you, because they can scroll through, and 99% of my feedback is all 5 stars, which is really exciting, and I'm really proud of that. I've worked really hard for that. It's something that my shop it's always been important, and it's important to everybody, is to provide good customer service. So keep track of that. We briefly talked earlier about how important it is in your About section to fill it out, because it adds character to your shop. It makes people feel like they have a connection with you, and they know what you're about and what your shop offers. It gives them an idea of the type of customer service that they're going to receive. I have a pretty lengthy announcement section where I keep my customers up to date on stuff as it happens. So for instance, the very first thing here says that we're expecting and I'm going to take a week off of my bead shop when our daughter is born. And so I will be putting my shop on vacation mode for a week, which means no sales will be able to go through. And I want my customers to know, so I've been telling them this for months so that they know. So just being really open with your customers and telling them who you are and what you're about, it gives them a better idea of what kind of experience they're going to have with your shop and what sets you apart. So does anybody have any other questions off the top of their head? I'm trying to look at my notes and see. There's been so many videos and a lot of comments on all the videos. I'm trying to remember if I missed anything. For more specific information on how to create a listing and choose your categories and your tags, if that's something that you guys are interested, I can do a video about that. I probably wouldn't do it live. I would just do it at home or here at the shop and try to keep it down under 5 minutes and kind of condense it together. We can put that on YouTube. For you, I don't mind doing that because I know that can be confusing. The main things you just really need to remember when you start selling on Etsy is it takes time. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of people selling on Etsy, so be patient. Don't expect to list something and then overnight you're just going to have all of these sales. Take some of that advice that I gave you. If your primary products that you want to sell are t-shirts or clothing, custom items like that, that might be more expensive, say, than a decal, offer decals anyway. Offer a low price item so that you can drive traffic to your shop, because the more traffic that you have coming to your Etsy shop, the better chance that you have for more people coming to buy the items you are actually intending to sell. So find a couple of really cute designs, things that are popular, sports related things that aren't trademarked, like Football Mom, what's that? But First Coffee. Coffee thing is huge. People love those because what are you putting decals on? Coffee mugs, tumblers, water bottles, beast mode, just anything that, I mean, that's not trademarked. You can do, there's a ton of ideas. Offer cheap decals on your Etsy that cost you just a stamp to ship. Ship those decals for free and start bringing in those sales that way, because the more sales you get on Etsy, the more relevant you become. And that is definitely one of the things that you need to remember, as well as the photos. I've said it so many times. Natural light in your photos to make sure that you are really taking the time to get the best depiction of your product, because people will pick the better photo. They want to know that they're getting something that's high quality, something that, because a lot of times custom stuff is a gift, and you want to give somebody the best, and I know you guys can make the best, because we've seen a lot of you guys' work, and it's amazing. We see so many of our customers' work. Our local customers show us all the time. You guys send us messages all the time, and it's amazing. You guys are incredible. Some of the detail, some of the methods, and you guys create your own ways. It blows my mind. Like, it's amazing. You guys teach us so much all the time, and we love that. There's so much talent out there. There's enough market for everybody. So taking advantage of a platform like Etsy can be daunting, but definitely don't write it off. It feels like a process when you're first setting up your shop, but don't write it off. Try to get through it. Make your first listings, couple of listings. You can copy your listings. I'm going to show you that really quickly too. So you don't have to redo it over and over and over again. That's a really great feature of Etsy, is once you have created a listing, you can copy it. So for instance, we'll go back to this ivory bead that I have here. You can take and click manage, and you push copy. And now this is a brand new listing. It has all of the same information here, so I don't have to redo it all. All I have to do is delete that picture of an ivory bead out and upload a picture of a pink bead, or take that picture of your soccer mug out and upload a picture of your dance mug. And then you don't have to go through all the tedious work of setting up your listings. So that's a really big thing. I just had something else when I was saying that, and I cannot remember. Trial and error is another big thing. Shipping. Don't take your stuff to the post office. We talked about that. Take advantage of Etsy's shipping. It's going to be at least 30% cheaper than taking it to the post office, or use stamps.com. There is a fee for that, but try that out. I can't remember what I was looking at. That I had something. Hi. I'm trying to keep up with all the questions. Something great about. I can't remember, but I feel like it was really important, or it was really interesting. Etsy does have too, if you have your own domain right now. For instance, for my beads, I have my prettyposhprincess.com, which is my own domain, and I also sell on Etsy in general. Etsy has what they call Pattern, where you can direct your domain to Pattern, which is taken care of by Etsy. And I used to have these two things separate, which is horrible for inventory. It's really hard to keep track of, especially for ready to ship items. So Etsy has a great thing where if you currently sell off of your own domain, don't give it up. That's a part of your brand. Keep that, especially because it's usually only like $15 a year to keep your domain. Now you can integrate with Etsy using Pattern, point your domain to Pattern in Etsy. That puts everything that you list on Etsy, it's listing it to your Pattern website, and it's keeping track of all that inventory for you, which is another huge asset for time management, as well as making sure you're not overselling items. So if you do have your own domain currently, don't give it up. If you feel frustrated or discouraged that maybe the sales aren't coming in as quickly to it, don't give it up. Keep your domain. It's a part of your brand. Just point it to your Etsy shop if you're tired of managing the two. I did that a couple years ago, and it made a huge difference for me. So, Austin, can you think of anything else about Etsy? There's so much. I know there's so much I'm missing. I do I've done Etsy for so long that it's so natural to me now, and it's so common that I forget some of the things. The app, I guess I could talk quickly about the app. They recently updated their app, and it's way better than it used to be. So you can actually do all your listings from your phone if you want. You can take your photos on your phone, make sure they're good natural light, edit your photos. You can upload straight from there. You can answer all your emails. Emails come in the form of conversations from Etsy. When you get a sale, it makes a really fun cha-ching sound, so that's exciting. You might be at the grocery store and you make a sale. It just feels good. So it's really fun. But their app used to be a little laggy, and it was really frustrating for me because I do a lot. I think I have 1,200 products in my Etsy shop, and so when I get new beads in and I'm photographing and I'm trying to upload and do things, I don't want to sit around for 5 minutes waiting for a picture to load, which is what the app used to be, and it's not anymore. So that's good for Etsy. They fixed that. Can you do sales outside of Etsy, showers, etc., Lisa? I believe so, Lisa. I believe it's a part of their integrations. Tools that they have, and I would have to double check that, but I believe it's something similar to Square. Yeah, it is. So they use Square. So you can get the card reader, and you can integrate that in with your Etsy shop. So if you're doing a trade show somewhere, instead of trying to handwrite stuff and do cash receipts, or have something completely separate through PayPal, integrate it all together, which back to taxes is huge because Etsy's keeping track of that for you, and that goes straight to your QuickBooks. So you can definitely do that. You can use Square. I think they have a couple of different options too, but Square is the best one, I believe. They have a couple of different options for taxes too, and QuickBooks is the most popular for that. So that was a really good question. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Alicia. We have 3 to 4 weeks to go, and she will be making her arrival, hopefully. What was I? Oh, this is huge. I do need to tell you about the statistics are huge on Etsy. They do an amazing job at showing you what is happening in your shop. So for instance, if you check this out, my shop, it shows me that my visits, it's down to a percentage, are up 34% from last year. And total views, so total times people have been to my shop, is 352,264 times. That's so specific. That information is amazing. But more than that, what I love is when I come down here, Etsy's showing me where these visits are coming from. So it's showing me that they're direct, and that direct visit is when I'm posting my item from my shop direct to my Facebook. And so they're clicking that direct link like we talked about, and it's taking them there. The Etsy one is the next biggest one, and that means they're just searching in Etsy and they're finding me because of my tags and my keywords. That's why those are important. There's other external searches and social media. So this type of data is huge that they're giving you that. It also shows you search terms. So obviously, overwhelmingly, the biggest search term that works for my products is bubblegum beads. So that's where in the video prior I had said that researching your competition, and not so much even competition, just researching other products out there that are similar to yours will give you a huge advantage, because you can look and see what search terms are they using. Are they using bubblegum beads, or is it one word? Is it 2 words? Are they separating it out? Are they using custom shirts? Are they using personalized shirts? Are they using make your own? Is it DIY?
You got 6 minutes.
I have 6 minutes. So you have to research your competition. Use those keywords. Research what's out there. That's going to help you become more relevant. So, and take advantage of all of that. There's just a lot of things that you can take advantage of with Etsy, and they provide really good feedback. I know they started with the new fee schedule that they did this summer, where they also bumped up a lot of new resources. I haven't used any of them, but I know that a lot of people do, and they're really great. It's a part of the community in the help section. You can ask a lot of questions. There's tons of forums and things like that, so take advantage of all of that. So are there any last minute questions? Don't forget, when it comes to pricing your items, head to speedyvinylshop.com, click on tutorials. We have a pricing formula. We talked about that in one of the other videos. That's going to help you kind of get an idea of what you should charge. When it comes to becoming more relevant, bumping yourself up, accumulate as many sales as you can, even if it's with the loss leader, like a cheaper decal to start bumping you up, becoming more relevant on Etsy, double checking your tags, making sure you're using those keywords in your descriptions, because that's what Google pulls. Google doesn't pull as many of the tags as they do as your descriptions. So make sure that you're using those important keywords in all of your descriptions. Be clear cut. And if it's possible to offer free shipping, do it. Build it in. If you know that it's going to cost $8 to ship a mug and you have enough profit in your item because you buy your materials from Speedy Vinyl and our prices are amazing, then maybe only charge $3 for shipping and build that into the price of your item so that your customer has the illusion that that mug is shipping for free, even though that you know some of that cost is built in there, because that's just added value to them and they're going to pick you over somebody else. So, any other suggestions, Austin? He doesn't sell on Etsy.
I don't.
Beads has always been my thing. So
I don't want nothing to do with the beads. Two things. One, when you're pricing, you need to look at two things. You're either looking at margin or you're looking at volume. So you have to have one or the other. You can't have. You got to have one or the other. So, and what I mean by that is when you're pricing things, you need to take an honest look at how much that's selling and say, okay, I sell 2 of these a month. I need to make more than $1 a piece on it or whatever. Or if it's small decals, obviously it needs to be proportionate. But keep that in mind that your time is worth something. It's the most important factor in creating these crafts is your time, because without you they wouldn't be there, and you need to get paid for that. So
can I interject really quick into that?
Yeah.
That is what I was saying too about having a loss leader. Is I've said it a couple of times, is that if your primary goal is to sell t-shirts, but the shirts aren't moving very quickly, you're not getting those custom orders, to add to your relevance, sell some cheaper decals. Go for the quantity, the more orders, because the more orders you get, the more relevant you become on Etsy, and the more relevant you become on Etsy, the more people are going to start buying that higher priced item from you.
And you can do it on, just don't do it on everything. Don't give away everything,
No.
You can have some things that are going to drive traffic, but don't give away everything, because your time is worth money. It's worth a lot of money. So don't be undersold. Put your pride and soul into it, and don't feel defeated when it doesn't happen right away. It's going to take a little bit of time. You're going to have to build that up, but it's going to happen. And if you stay consistent with your pricing, overall, you're going to have more returning customers, because they're going to know what things cost. This is how much I got to pay to buy it from them. I know their quality is amazing. I've got no qualms with that. I'm going to go straight to them, and that's how you build returning clientele.
Yeah.
Other than that, I got to get these doors open. I can see people outside waiting.
They're waiting for us. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry that it became a 4-part thing. I don't know if you guys will see me again for a while. We'll have baby soon, so we'll try to post a picture to our Facebook page when she's born. And as always, we appreciate everybody, all of your support. Send us questions. If there's more in-depth things you want to hear about Etsy that we didn't cover, let me know. I'm happy to help. I'm not an expert, but I've done a lot with Etsy, so I can definitely. Yes, Brittany, we definitely can. I'll pass that on to Austin. That'd be something he'd love to do. So that sounds great. So thank you for watching. Don't forget, SpeedyVinylShop.com for all your vinyl needs. We're here to help you. And have a good afternoon.